and sci-fi and all that.
Okay.
So we try to put the reader in the driver's seat of our comics and relate to what we're doing.
Interesting. Okay, so basically what I'm doing here is recording this session is I'm going to post this on the YouTube channel for the Midwest Plainsman, and this is going to go out and then also be doing a playback on my internet radio as well.
Oh,
So
fun.
I'm talking with Stephen here, who is a Army veteran turned artist. He's created a comic book, Tales of. You want to pronounce that one?
Tales of Nihilism.
Okay, thank you. There are certain titles that I will absolutely destroy.
It's all good.
Oh man, I'm bad at that. And he also hosts ad space in the book for conventions. He's appeared at two this year, the Plastic City Comic Con in July near Boston, and the Veteran Comic Con in November in San Francisco. Um, so, I mean, it's good to have you here because uh, it's good to get to know people in your line of work. Is you know, as a DJ and podcaster, I've wanted to be a part of Comic Cons and the anime conventions and whatnot to help promote those folks as well. Is
Mhm.
what I do here is to help it promote and support independent artists, musicians, singer-songwriters, bands, and basically getting into the Comic Cons and animes. I think that would also be a benefit as well.
Yeah. And I mean, there's a lot with independent comic creators now doing the Kickstarters, the what you would call it, the like pulling of the money and resources, that kind of crowdsourcing, things like that, and I I just think it's kind of a weird business model because you have these people pulling in to produce these comics, but there's no real like investment. There's no like, business strategy on that. And
Yep.
so I had to like sit and think about comics, and I was like, what is the actual business behind comics? And it's really the merchandising, the intellectual property rights, and advertising. That's where you can leverage this business. And so, and these comic conventions, especially the independent ones, they're an untapped marketplace for businesses right now. There's not a lot of people, the independent artists and entertainers are selling their goods and services at these events. But as far as marketing to the public with your business and services, it's kind of like, I guess maybe people feel, if I'm not an artist or a creator, I'm definitely not going to set up a booth there, to be like, hey, here's my brick
Right.
and mortar business. But you can use us artists as that avenue to market to everybody that's
Right.
there at the convention.
Well, I know that the comic industry itself is huge, uh,
Hmm.
but not a lot of people really know all the ins and outs of it. There's only the select crowd that really gets into the comics that knows all the ins and outs of it.
Yeah.
And that's where I think a lot of more information needs to be put out so that people do understand. Because even, well, I mean, even what I know is the classics, the older, I mean, we're talking about the older classic comic books are hugely and widely collectible.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're talking, there's things like those ads in those books can differentiate like what version you've got of those. That can be like, oh, I got, the original publication, the first edition of this comic, because, oh, it's got the got milk ad campaign in it, or this or that.
Yep, and really, it's the I don't know the proper term I should be using for this, but the people who really delve deeply into the comic world are the ones who are going to be able to differentiate those little, I mean, those just those little items.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and all the rating people and stuff like that, but it's kind of like a Wild West open market right now,
Hmm.
because the old way of doing comics is dying out. And you're seeing a lot of the brick and mortar businesses, comic shops, a lot of those are going by the wayside. People aren't actively going out there and engaging that way into the entertainment culture
Hmm.
nowadays. And it's sad, I mean, I was a kid growing up. I loved going to comic shops. I loved, drawing and engaging in that world. But, things change. And now a, a lot of the entertainment is all through streaming, it's through digital. And, there's all these new ways of doing that. So you have to
Hmm.
adapt and figure out how to leverage yourself and work that way.
Yeah, because shoot, back when I was a kid, I remember having the ones that really caught my eye were the Justice League.
Mm,
I mean, the ones back in the 70s.
yeah.
And because I had a few of the regular size, plus I also had the bigger books too. I had a couple of those, plus I also had I remember having the big coloring book for
Hmm.
Justice League.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, shoot, my whole comic book journey began when I was in elementary school, and I picked up the Stan Lee How to Draw a Comic Book, instruction guide. And I practiced every single, thing in there. I went through every little technique that they had, and just front to back on that thing. And I was hooked at that point, and it was just like,
Hmm.
hey, if I could do this will be amazing. And the age that I'm at, once once I got to 18, 19, that world looks so different. And there's a lot of gatekeeping involved in those major publishers. There's a lot of nepotism.
Hmm.
There's all these things that are blocking you. And now all that's been blown off. We publish on Global Comics digitally. I don't they don't have any editorial say so over what I do. If you make something that's more adult, like a lot of our stories are, you have to label it that way so they can identify those things and categorize them right. But yeah, there's nobody coming down and saying, hey, I don't like the way this story ends, you need to change that.
Yeah, and I remember. I mean, I remember hearing about this, and right now it's even to the point where a lot of the well-known artists that were responsible for making up a lot of the majority of your comics,
Hmm.
they're we're slowly losing those guys too.
Yeah. Yeah. They're,
So, I mean, granted, I know that there's got to be the new tradition or the new generation of artists that hopefully are going to be continuing uh, those traditions. Uh, I don't know what the status quo is of that, but I'm hoping that there's still a lot of kids that enjoy comics.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, everybody, that's part of the culture thing too, is, everybody's like, comics, that's a children's, genre of entertainment, or it's a, maybe young teenager.
Not
No,
really.
man. Comics have been around since the 20s. Your
Yep.
great grandpa was reading comics. And
Yep.
Superman, he came out in the 30s and the 40s. And I remember watching the old Superman cartoons, faster than a speeding bullet and all that.
Hmm.
They've been around quite some time, and I think they've really grown up with us. And that's kind of like the heart of the stories that we do at Tales of Nihilism. We're trying to focus on those culturally relevant ideas and kind of like tell stories that are more relatable to people.
Mhm. So are the collector shows still happening to this day yet?
I mean, yeah, they and those will always go on, especially when you have old comics that are high value and there's people,
Mhm.
willing to bid and barter and trade and things like that. It's kind of that'll always exist. But we're at a point now where there's one comic distributor in the entire United States, Diamond Distribution,
Oh, wow.
and it's to the point that local comic shops, they won't even touch you, uh, unless you go through
Mhm.
distributing, right? So you have to
Wow.
find different avenues and you have to get out there in different ways. And
Mhm.
unless you work for Marvel, DC, or Image, yeah, and a lot of those gates are closed. So
Yeah, as I say, unless you're working for one of the big names, they're not even gonna talk to you.
yeah, yeah. And then they're pulling their full corporate stuff. Marvel, uh, being under Disney now outsources most of its artistic work, to Southeast Asia, where they can pay artists, pennies on the dollar and have all this work come
Mhm.
out like, like manufacturing and stuff. And so it's a weird time that we're in, but we definitely need more individual artistic expression and creativity from people.
Mhm.
And so that's why I like Global Comics. They give you that leeway, and it's like, hey, just do what you want, man.
I would agree with you completely. I mean, it's just like the entertainment business. Um, Back in the day, there used to be like two or three different record pressing warehouses
Mm,
here in the United States. Now we're just down to
yeah,
one major one, and they're handling everything. Um, and I'm like, damn, it just really baffles me that we're only down to one when we had like two or three major ones out there. And so that can relate.
yeah. Yeah, it's this weird space where it's like you have a monopoly through necessity because nobody else is going to step up to it, and they definitely see that that type of business is
Mhm.
dying and going by the wayside. So but it opens up these other opportunities where it's like, hey, we can do this. And then we go to these independent comic conventions and talk to our fans and promote our stuff there and have those sort of engagements, and it's been fun.
Nice. Um, every once in a while, I will come across a short video from two guys that are still doing uh, uh, the old manual press printers. Uh,
Mm,
I mean, they're
oh,
still using the old traditional hand
yeah,
crank teams. And like,
the
damn,
Ben Franklin movable type. Yeah.
yeah.
Hey, I feel him, man. There's nothing like doing things old school. I learned to type on an old Carlisle, typewriter. So yeah. And
Mhm.
I grew up in this weird in between. Uh, People will joke that I'm supposed to be a part of the millennial generation, being born in the '80s, and you're a part of this, and I'm like, you grew up with an iPhone in your hand, and I'm like, man, I the iPhone didn't even come out until I got back from Iraq. So I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Well, that and plus I worked at the Shack back in the day.
Mm. Yeah.
I still remember those days, man. That just I still see stuff coming out from uh, guys posting up old pictures and stuff. It's like, damn.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, as somebody in your line of work, um, is it going to be beneficial for podcasters like myself to help uh, people in your line of work to really put more emphasis on the comic industry?
Absolutely. This is a market space that I think has been like untapped for a long time. You know,
Mhm.
those of us who are old enough to remember old comics, like they all had advertising in them.
Yep.
We can all think of the supplements that they were selling, where the guy kicks the sand and the and the wimp guys, and then he takes the
Yep.
supplement and comes back. Or the Got Milk campaign that that was ran throughout the '90s and all that kind of stuff. And it was one of those when I started doing this as a business and working this seriously, I sat down and thought and like researched and looked into these things. And even Marvel and DC operate in the red on their comic book,
Hmm.
divisions all the time. They lose money with the comic books, but where they get the money back is through the intellectual property rights, through the merchandising, doing the movies, and then selling ads and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, well, that is the actual business. And because of that, you have these digital publishing houses like Global Comics and Webtoons and other people that have stepped up. Amazon completely flubbed on KDP because they made it so painfully difficult for people to produce comics on their site. So it's almost completely, negligible if you don't already have a comic and you don't already do things through KDP. It's just a whole rigmarole. But Global Comics and these other people, these spaces are open now. They're kind of like Facebook and all these social media sites when they first started.
Hmm.
There's not really much there on the rules and these kind of restrictions that you have now. You don't have to worry about these sites maybe not aligning with your company's goals, or maybe they're like, okay, we don't like what you're selling, so you can't sell it here on Facebook, or we're going to reduce the views that you get. Or if you
Yeah.
take out advertising on Facebook for your page, your small business, 90% of the traffic that you get is going to be bots. It's going to be fake traffic just to
Right.
drive up views. With this is all the creators are putting our heart and souls into our stories and showing them here. And so we're engaging with actual fans and legitimate audiences, and then those audiences are also if they like your work, well, that fan base is going to be loyal to you. So now you have, a consistent group of people that if you're a small business or, a podcaster or things like that, and you sponsor, support, and advertise with artists like myself, you've got a loyal following that you're going to be marketing to consistently.
Right. Okay. Um, so basically, what would benefit your industry more? Would it be the visual ads, or is it going to be the audio ads, or how do you look at it?
Yeah, I mean, being that this is art, it's definitely going to be that visual ads and stuff like that.
Okay.
um I've gotten a sponsorship this year with a veteran podcast, and we're going out to Veteran Comic Con in November. And that I myself, with my veteran you know um self, I'm able to kind of like tie into the veteran community and use that as a little bit of
Hmm.
leverage and leeway as well. But with other people, there's so many opportunities and availabilities to kind of rework this, instead of having to worry about that crowdsourcing to fund your printing and to do that kind of stuff. You can work with local businesses that maybe do printing and say, hey, how about I give your business an ad in a small ad space in my comic if you print so many copies and things like that. And when small businesses work together like this, this is how you beat your Walmarts. This is how you beat
True.
your Amazons and stuff like that. If we don't lean on each other for what we can offer, and then we're like, well, I'm not getting much business. Well, yeah, we're not working together.
Hmm. Okay. No, that makes complete sense. For small businesses to work together like that. Is right now, I'm involved in a project with a friend of mine out in Pennsylvania who has published a magazine um, for the metaphysical and the witch community. And
Mhm.
I'm a part of that, helping to distribute here in the Midwest and
Yeah.
do the advertising and whatnot. Um, so yeah, when small business, and that's turned out to be successful. And for just a small time operation, uh, we're already getting that into like 200 plus stores.
Oh, heck yeah.
So it can work.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And that's, you gotta use those things because there's like an impersonalness to a lot of the other uh, routes that you can go, and
Mhm,
what exists nowadays. And yeah, you can use a large net type marketing campaign for your business, but I don't think that you're going to really catch any of the fish with that because you're trying
mhm,
to market to your local community. And if you have the ability to distribute across the nation, or do online things, yeah, okay, you can do a little bit bigger of a net catch for your marketing,
mhm.
but at the same time you want that like loyal consistency you know
Yep. Yeah, so basically now we're the comic industry, and now is there a definite crossover with the comics and also an organization with the veterans?
um I mean, honestly, this to me, it's been a great opportunity because I've been able to find a lot of catharsis through creating these stories. I've taken a lot of real world lived experiences and
Hmm.
put that into my art, and it's been kind of like almost therapeutic to go through those processes and come up with those
Hmm.
things. And so I think that's it's a real opportunity for veterans to look at that as well, if you have any sort of creative leanings.
Okay. I would say, do you know of any other veterans who are following with what you're doing?
I've seen a few here and there, and it's kind of funny. There was a comic strip called Private Murphys, and I
Mhm.
saw that downrange in Iraq, and that guy was just drawing that comic, and he'd slap it up in PXs and stuff like that, and we'd all read it and laugh and and stuff like that. And yeah, now I've actually gotten to talk to him on social media and discuss things and talk about our experiences.
Mhm.
And so yeah, I'm starting to run into people here and there, but it's still a new horizon. So I think here in the
Mhm.
next decade, a lot of this is probably going to start ramping up.
I say that would be something to possibly pitch to the VA, pitch to let's see, which one is the main hospital that they send most all returning vets to?
Oh, the Walter Reed and all that.
Walter Reed, yeah.
Yeah.
That would be something to pitch to them as well.
Oh yeah. It's definitely needed, and I've gotten more out of sitting down and drawing comics and doing stories than I ever have at a therapy session, or dealing with the doctors.
Hmm. Okay, well, I mean, that's some avenues that, yeah, definitely can be approached. And anything that I can do to help put that word out, because I'm also doing internet radio. So I do a lot of audio ads. So if there's a there's a way that we can get a 30-second spot created to highlight veterans and also with the comic industry, that I think that would be beneficial.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Excellent. So that's something that we could work on, and that way I can get that out. And then also when I'm doing the actual video podcast for the Midwest Plainsman, we can also do up a 30-second video spot too.
Oh, heck yeah.
Because seeing as how the comic industry, yeah, that is definitely a visual aspect for the artwork.
Yeah.
That would definitely have to be beneficial that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so um, let's just kind of keep in touch here and get something put together. Because yeah, the more information that we can put out about what you're doing and uh, the industry in whole, and also how it can benefit veterans and basically with their mental health and also their artistic creativity for those are who do have that talent uh,
Yeah,
to bring them on board would be beneficial as well.
absolutely. Yeah, 100%. Well, that's our big one. We're trying to push for the end of this month to get in as many ads as we can. We have 6 issues available that we're printing ads in for Plastic City, and and then of course after that the big push will be Veteran Comic Con, and that's something special that I think a lot of businesses, whether you're in the San Francisco area or not, I think a lot of people are going to want to be a part of that.
Hmm. I would definitely agree with you. Let's say because I do have connections uh, out in the Bay Area. Um, I can't remember the organization at the moment, but yeah, I do have connections with the organization out in the Bay Area, so I can see what we can get done with them.
Oh, heck yeah, absolutely.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate you taking time out to come talk with me, and look forward to doing more work with you, and we'll see what we can get accomplished.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Earl.
You are very welcome. Appreciate you. And if anybody out there has information that they would like to relay, please feel free to email me directly at the Midwest Plainsman at Gmail. You want to give people your contact information as well?
Yeah, so you can always go to Global Comics and look up Tales of Nihilism. I'll put that here in the notes for you. And it's free to make an account, and our first issue of each series that we do is free. And then, we do like a little, you can read 10 pages and then do a subscription or paywall and all that kind of stuff. But if you are interested in advertising, you can reach out to talesofnihilism at gmail.com, and we can go forth and discuss that. And then finally, I have a book about my time in Iraq being published. Troublemakers is what I call it, and you can go on Blue Air Books if you'd like to read a copy of that.
Excellent. All right. Well, thanks again. Thank you for coming to join me. Do appreciate it. And definitely be keeping in touch. And we'll see what we can get done together and to get the word out more about Plastic City Comic Con, also the Veteran Comic Con that's coming up. And yeah, see what we can get done to get more veterans involved.
Absolutely. Thank you.
You are very welcome. Have a good night, and be sure to tell people about the interview that you're doing here on the Midwest Plainsman. This is going to go up on the YouTube channel here later on, and that will be accessible most likely by tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Absolutely.
All
All
right.
right. Well, I'll talk to you later, Earl. You have
All
a good
right.
week.
Have a good night, Steve.
Bye.
You've been listening to another edition of the Midwest Plainsman on Zoom. And this will be going up on the YouTube channel here later on. That'll be accessible tomorrow. So have a good night. Pleasant journeys, everyone.